Okay, YouTube. So, back with a Dodge 2009 Ram 1500 Hemi. Paid the transmission shop $2,266 for a rebuild. I get it back. Problems right away. It won't even shift. Goes into limp mode right away. Transmission shop tells me I have an electrical problem. I disagree. I towed the truck back to my house. I look at it. Can't find any electrical issue. I pulled it. It already burned up the torque converter clutch. Less than a mile worth of driving. I have a video of that. That's heat marks from the clutch from the converter clutch trying to apply and heating up. We were going to put a solenoid pack in this for codes, and then I took it apart and found a lot of material in the pan, which I have video of. I'm going to put that in here too. So anyway, a lot of debris in the pan. Sent it $2,266 later. I put it in and I get a pressure switch rationality fault code when it does a 1-2 shift. And also, once it's warmed up, it sets low line pressure code. So I'm gonna look at that. I put it in last night, got it full of fluid, doesn't have 3 minutes of runtime on it. I had my scanner on it right away. Right away I can tell that it has low line pressure issues already. We're gonna go through the diag. I got the all data diagnostics printed out. So let's start here. This is advanced transmission. If I get my phone to switch here. Okay, so here we go. $2,266. Carry-in unit. Right off the bat, they tried to tell me there was a problem with the electrical in the truck, and I told them no, it was full of metal. Remember, that's why I was getting these line pressure codes to begin with. Advanced transmission, Phoenix, Arizona. So I actually took him the unit back, and I'll show where you can see that the torque converter clutch was smoked already. He wrote all this mumbo jumbo down here. Says they did all this stuff, took it all back apart. It rolled over in the back of my truck and it made a huge mess. This guy right here, don't go there. So anyway, I pick it up, I'm on my way home, and the transmission rolled over in the back of the truck and it poured a bunch of fluid out. So you can't tell me it was completely taken apart. So what I got right here is theory of operation. Okay, right off of all data. Line pressure is measured by the line pressure sensor, and regulation is achieved by changing the duty cycle of the pressure control solenoid. Right here, 5% duty cycle equals basically solenoid off, maximum line pressure. 62% duty cycle equals solenoid on, minimum line pressure. Okay. He's trying to say that I have a power feed issue with the transmission. It had a power feed code when it came back. He keeps trying to tell me that this is the issue, is a power TCM power supply code. So I'm gonna hook everything up. Got the diagnostics here. We're gonna go right here. We've got pin 10, transmission control output. That should be battery voltage from the fuse box. Then we're gonna go to pin 12, which is line pressure variable force solenoid control circuit. That should be the duty cycle control circuit back to the PCM. We're gonna monitor that with this guy here, my portable oscilloscope. We're going to monitor the battery power circuit with the voltmeter. We're going to monitor what the computer thinks it's doing and what it's seeing line pressure and what its actual control is for the line pressure duty control solenoid. I have my test leads ready. I'm going to go down and hook it up. I'm going to hook up to those two circuits, line pressure control and transmission output control. Now look at them right here. 12 volts here, battery voltage, line pressure variable, 4 solenoid, gets duty cycled from the powertrain control module. We're going to tap this line with the oscilloscope and watch the duty cycle, and we're going to tap this and make sure we have battery voltage. I never get the code. It came back from the transmission shop when they checked it. They've had this thing 2 times. They had the truck once and they had the transmission, and supposedly they rebuilt it again. They just gave me a different torque converter. It looked like the transmission was still full of fluid. So basically, I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna get everybody hooked up and we'll be right back. Okay, all right, hooked up. Get up in there. Green wire is our duty cycle, and the other wire is hard to see. It's our power wire. Route it up here out of the way. Alright. Take the shifter cable off just for easier access, but we'll be able to see the problem without even putting it in gear. Alright. Move this stuff out of the way. Let's see what we can find. Turn on this. Turn this back on. Oh look, just turn the key on. It looks like battery voltage to me. Get our line pressure. Oops. This one. This one. Okay. So, there we go. Look at that. I'm gonna start it up. Okay, cold. It has not started yet. And look, we've got duty cycle. So we're commanding at 14% duty cycle. It's actually maintaining line pressure. That means it's actually having to dump off a little bit of fluid to bring the pressure down within the desired range. That should be cold. That duty cycle should be quite a bit higher. Look, 14 volts. There's your duty cycle. There's the actual oscilloscope. That's the power feeding the duty cycle solenoid. There's the PCM side controlling the duty cycle at 14. See, it's already dropping down to 13. I'm going to touch the brake now. 0. See that? Commands 150. It can't do it. There you go. Battery voltage, 14 volts. There's your duty cycle. Watch what happens when I touch the brakes. It basically turns off. It can't make line pressure. There's nothing more electrical about that. On the brake, off the brake, on the brake, duty cycle. It can't make line pressure. It goes to zero duty cycle, battery voltage, no duty cycle, can't make line pressure. That's pretty, I mean, what else do you do right here? And I'm hooked up right at the transmission, 14 volts, duty cycle. At 14 duty cycle. Okay, here's the theory of operation again. in case we missed it. Let's go back. Line pressure is measured by the line pressure sensor, and regulation is achieved by changing the duty cycle on the line pressure control solenoid. 5% duty cycle equals solenoid off. Maximum line pressure. So let's say this truck did have a battery voltage. Say that voltage right there was missing. Okay, which is what they're telling me. That's what they're trying to tell me is going on, is that I'm missing that 12 volt feed right here. This wire, the other diagram, comes out of the TIPM, the totally integrated power module. It feeds power to here. It also feeds power to several other points in the PCM and the TCM. So there is the reference. It's very easy to pull that fuse out and turn the key on and cause this fuse, this issue. And it will also, if this is not detected at the other modules, it will never set these codes because it knows that this is not powered. If it sees this powered into the other two modules, which they're technically the same module, if it sees this power at the other modules, and it actually has power here, each one of these windings is just a little micro winding that turns on electromagnet, which makes a solenoid open and close. Okay, if you have power coming in, you're going to have battery reference voltage at every one of these until the computer applies a ground signal to turn on said solenoid. Now, this says right here, solenoid off, no duty cycle equals max line pressure. If you take power away from here, there's no way that this solenoid is going to be able to energize. If this cannot energize, and it energizes to release pressure, to dump pressure, this thing should be idling with no voltage here, maximum line pressure here. And now that it's run a little bit and down to low idle, what we're seeing is it's just in an idle state. And when it wants less line pressure, it can actually bring the duty cycle up. And look, you can actually see it here. The spacing's different. The time is different. The on time is on more. The low is when the transistor inside the PCM turns on and takes this potential voltage down to 0, which energizes the line pressure solenoid. So it turns it on. The more on time, the less pressure you have. That's why it wants 50. We have 50. It's still cold. It's just down to smooth idle now, and it's actually maintaining because it wanted to lower the line pressure. Now again, I'm going to touch the brake, and when I touch the brake, it's going to think I'm going to get ready to put it in gear, so it's going to want 150 psi line pressure, and it can't make it. That's why the duty cycle, I'll go back over here. You can almost watch it try. It's pretty much off. It's barely even touching it and turning it on, which is a 5% duty cycle, 5% on time. Remember, the downs, the more this is at the bottom, this is potential voltage, this is ground, this is turned on. These should be way longer than these right now. And look, still voltage, duty cycle, touch the brake, max duty cycle. Look. It's right here. It's all right here. This transmission, basically what this says, should have maximum line pressure. Okay, we're gonna let this thing warm up a minute. Actually, look, we're still duty cycling. My meter turned off. That's what the beeping was. Oh look, we're still working. Let's go back to our data. I want to watch this thing warm up. I'm gonna go show you the transmission I have taken apart on the table. Here, there's a 4L60 waiting to get the pumps back from the machine shop. So I mean, I'm not a total idiot. I do some transmissions. I just never done one of those, and I didn't want to learn on this guy's truck because he really depends on his truck, and I didn't want to learn on his. So actually, there's the 4L60 bell housing. See, I mean, in my garage right here. All right. All right, she's probably warmed up enough. I'm gonna slide under there and put the shift cable on, and then I'll show you what the line pressure does when I put it in gear. Okay. I don't really want to. Look, our check engine just turned off. Still hooked up to the transmission, 14 volts. Let me get this guy going again. Watch our duty cycle, and we're gonna go drive it, and we're gonna see what codes happen. Okay. Go into our data here. Okay, here we are. Foot on the brake. Foot on the brake. Okay, let's go drive her. Just now went into gear. Oh, it's hard to see. Duty cycles coming and going. Look. Okay. 1-2 shift. Let's see what it does. Okay, we just went into limp mode. When this thing goes into limp mode, it physically turns off the power supply. Okay, it does that because if you, on this particular transmission, if you disconnect the big connector, this should have full line pressure and fourth gear only and reverse, fourth gear only. So it turns it completely off to avoid any damage to the transmission in the event. So I don't even know if it set the line pressure code. I think it set the other code. Let's find out. Yeah, see, now we're back to this pressure switch rationality fault. They didn't even set the line pressure code this time. Can't believe an evap fault sitting there overnight with the battery hooked up was enough to find the evap leak now that we're cooled down. All right, quick around the block, and start this over again. See, it was just, the computer just turned it off. So. Okay. T4 switch is the one that sets the code for rationality. Yeah. Battery voltage, because I cleared the codes. Foot's on the brake, no duty cycle. Okay, I'll go back. Still has line pressure issues. Surprised it didn't set the fault. So here's our pressure switches, our 5 pressure switches. Open, close, open, close, close. I'm gonna go reverse. See, they're changing. They all change at least once. Okay, now we're gonna back up. I'm gonna try and see what they do when it messes up. This is the same issue that I've had since day one. And then once the fluid gets hot, it'll actually be bad enough to set line pressure faults. Again, it takes a day to go into gear. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I can catch this when it goes to 1-2 shift. It doesn't feel right either when it does it. It feels like 2 clutches come on and it goes into limp mode. So again, we're already back into limp mode. Computer shut itself off. It shows it's in limp mode. Okay. Pressure switches. Reverse. Neutral. Drive. Okay. 4C. I think it's one of these two. Both open now. One of those is the one set in the code. One of those is supposed to switch from closed to open when we shift into second gear. Now I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna let the neighbor leave first. Go reverse, we go one of those bottom ones, we go one closed, one goes open, one's closed. Back up here. Alright. Neutral, drive, both open. One of those is supposed to close when it shifts from first to second gear. Get over here, get out of the cul-de-sac. Let it go 1-2 shift. We'll see if either one of those change. And we're in 4th gear. Just like that. So if neither one of those things changed, yeah, 4th gear. I didn't see one change. Did you see one change?
No.
I didn't see one change. Alright, I'm going to pull over. I'm going to turn it off real fast. I'm going to do it again. Hopefully it stays. They drive, they both, you've seen it, both went closed open. That means the wiring's there. The transmission can do it in manual drive, but at the minute it commands a second gear shift and it turns that clutch on, I'm telling you, it's applying 2 clutches at the same time. That's why it burns up the converter clutch in a couple trips around the block. So here we go, 1-2 shift. Command and 4th gear fault. That fast. No change in either pressure switch. So I'm gonna stop right here. I'm not even gonna turn it off. We'll put it in park. Boom, both of them change. Put it in gear. Oh, it's gonna slip. Yikes. I don't even have the line pressure to get out of drive. I guess we're going real slow now. Okay, so it's pretty much already burned up for first gear, and I may be gone. I don't know. This might be the 4th trip around the little block, and it actually feels like it can't hold. Now I have a check engine light. I'm gonna go ahead and back up. 4C pressure switch. I'm gonna baby it because I don't want it to burn down. So yeah, there it is. This transmission is garbage.
Stop play.
It's so fighting itself right now. It's got 2 clutches on. The torque converter's trying to lock up and it's trying to go first gear. It's toast. Yeah, you can stop filming. Yep. Shut it off. The computer's like, okay, let's try again. 4C rationality fault. This is ridiculous. That ain't normal. 5, off. Should be max line pressure. Again, here we go. Cannot make line pressure. There's fluid leaking internally somewhere. It's got to be. Look at the computer's trying. We got voltage. We got duty cycle. With no line pressure. See, it can hold it in reverse, but it can't hold it in drive. Still. Already went mode. Pull over and turn it off again. Ah. See? warmed up. Now the fluid temperature is warmed up. We get line pressure low and in limp mode. Now I'm going to turn it off. Key on, voltage. Start it up. The computer's trying. It knows it can't make it. I got voltage. Finally, look at this. Watch this. Right there, finally. That's forever to go in gear. Still got voltage. And like I said, the second that it goes to shift, the computer's going to put it into limp, and it's going to turn off all the power supplies to the computer. Drag, and then it goes limp right there. Does it every time. And the minute it does it, it just turns off just turns this off. It quits trying to do anything. When the strategy is to turn everything off, because to save the transmission, it turns everything off. Say the line pressure solenoid shorts to ground on the control side. That's going to turn it on all the time, and that would cause a low line pressure failure. So to avoid an actual low line pressure issue, the computer shuts off the power supply to the solenoids. That way there can't be any power to the solenoids. So there should be no way that the computer there should be no way that a short to ground or something like that is going to cause a solenoid to stay on and keep a clutch pack energized or something like that. So the computer literally just turns it off. So it would be the same as unplugging the connector from the truck. Should be high line pressure all the time, and it's not. So just a little recap. You can see in the video, the vehicle maintains power supply all the time. It tries to 1-2 shift. It doesn't have enough pressure. I believe there's a sealing ring missing inside the transmission, and it's feeding fluid to multiple passages, which is why it turns on the torque converter clutch, it feels like. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I did pull it out. For the second time I pulled it out, it had a bad dark spot around the torque converter clutch. The pressure switch code, as far as I can tell, is happening because there's no pressure switch closure when it commands second gear shift, which tells me that possibly it's missing a sealing ring or something. The computer opens up fluid passage to a certain area. It doesn't happen. It doesn't close the pressure switch. Therefore, rationality fault, and it doesn't know what to do, so it just turns off everything. Goes into a fail-safe mode. After that, if you let it run long enough and it gets warmed up enough, it actually can't maintain line pressure, which I think the line pressure code and the other code kind of go together. The initial problem with this transmission was low line pressure was an intermittent. The way I understand it would be, if they drove a short distance, it would be okay. If they drove longer distances, it would have more of an issue. Pull over, turn it off, start it back up, and it would drive again for a little while. The longer and farther you tried to push it, the worse the problem, the more repetitive that it would happen. So we took the pan down. We were going to put in the electronics. The pan was full of metal, like you can see in the video. I sent it to the tranny shop. They supposedly built it, sent it back, and I have what we've seen in the video. Basically at this point, we're 2 weeks into this. Transmission shop says it's electrical. This is gonna go farther, I guess. If I have to get a lawyer to get my money back, I'm gonna talk to a lawyer. I'm going to probably email a copy of this video to the news, like 3 on Your Side does a lot of stuff for people, so I might email them this video. I'm gonna put this video on YouTube. I'm gonna see if this video can get shared wherever. I'm gonna get it shared as much as I can, because that guy, advanced transmission, that guy's a hack. Honestly, I would have done him. I would have liked to do it myself, but I understand that I'm really not a transmission guy. I'm new to them. As you can see, look right up here. Those are TransStar kits. That 545 RFE is a new transmission. I didn't want to take a chance because they really rely on their truck. So, you know, actually, there's the 4L60 in the video still in the garage. Funny thing is, I talked to the guy who does the machine work, which I guess I should have thought about it a little farther. Could have asked the guy who does work like that for the transmission shops in the valley who stands behind their work. And when I took these 4L60 pumps to the machine shop, he's like, what tranny shop was it? And I told him, and I don't want to get into what our conversation was. It's not anybody's business, but my issue with them is they gave me a transmission that doesn't work. I'm out a little over $2,000, a little over $2,500 now. I want my money back. This isn't going to go very well. So I'm going to put out the video. There's as much diag there as I can think of, other than hooking my voltmeter up to the switch circuits, so we could watch the voltmeter change when we watch the scan tool change. That's almost pointless at this point. The thing can't make line pressure. So yeah, we'll see what he does after this one. This one's going on YouTube. Just remember, Advanced Transmissions on Bell Road. Stay away. That guy does not stand behind his work. Anytime he's questioned, he throws a temper tantrum like a little kid. So yeah, watch out for Advanced Transmissions on Bell Road. I'll keep you posted.